Hi everyone, welcome back to this channel. This presentation focuses on the consonant chart. Um, what is a consonant chart? A consonant chart lists of all the consonant sounds for a given language while neatly organizing them by place of articulation, manner of articulation, and phonation. What about the distinctions between vowels and consonant sounds? So as we know, vowels are produced with no obstruction to the flow of air through our mouths. However, consonants are quite different. They do have obstruction, and the type and amount they have will determine their category. Now, vowels and consonants are the two main types of letters in the alphabet. Vowels are letters A, E, O, U, and sometimes U, no? Which produce open sounds when pronounced. So consonants are all the other letters of the alphabet which produce closed or partially closed sounds when pronounced. So a vowel is a speech sound made with your mouth fairly opened, no? The nucleus of a spoken syllable. A consonant is a sound made with your mouth fairly closed. Now, if we look back to the diagrams, no, or the diagram of the mouth in the left, no, that postulates the front vowels, which means that the tongue is rolling forward to produce the vowels, the front vowels. So in comparison to the back vowels, no, which falls back, the horizontal axis shows the position of the tongue, the placement of the tongue in comparison to the front of the mouth, the front or the back. So the vertical axis is basically the position of the jaw. So as you go higher, then the mouth is more closed. For instance, na E, as you go down, the jaw drops. No? So technically, it's not really the position of the tongue, but it's the space between the tongue and the upper palate. Okay, so let us go to the production of a consonant sound. Now, producing a consonant sound involves making the vocal tract narrower at some location than it usually is. We call this narrowing a constriction. Which consonant you're pronouncing depends on where the vocal tract, no, the constriction is, and how narrow it is. It also depends on a few other things, such as whether the vocal folds are vibrating and whether air is flowing through the nose. Now, um, consonants are produced by pushing air from the lungs and out to the mouth and or nose. So airflow is disrupted by obstructions made by various combinations of vocal articulator movements so that audible friction is produced. How do we produce consonant sounds? Consonants are basically produced by briefly stopping the airflow. They may be characterized by two features: the manner of the stopping and the position of the barrier. A structure forming a barrier is termed an articulator, as in plosive sounds. The airflow may be stopped momentarily and then released. No? So how to make a consonant sound? Consonant sounds, as we have learned it, are made by blocking air using our teeth, tongue, or lips. For example, say the beginning consonant sound in the word pud, no? Pud, pud. So your lips come together to block air to make the sound. So let us go to the get back to the consonant chart. So the consonant chart, no? The consonant chart, or these consonants on screen now, are usually classified according to the place of articulation, which is the location of the stricture made in the vocal tract, such as dental, no, bilabial, or velar. So the manner of articulation, how the obstruction of the airflow is accomplished, as in stops, no, fricatives, approximants, trills, taps, and laterals. So in articulatory phonetics, the manner of articulation is the configuration and interaction of the articulators. speech organs such as the tongue, the lips, no, the palate, making a speech sound. So one parameter of manner is stricture. Uh, that is how closely the speech organs approach one another. What about a stop? On screen, you have stop, no? So, uh, what is a stop in a manner of articulation of consonant sounds? So, plosive, often called stop, is an oral occlusive, no? With occlusion and or blocking of the oral vocal tract and no nasal airflow. So, the airflow stops completely. Examples include, as in exactly these are voiceless, and the these are exactly voiced. What are the stops? No, stop consonant sounds. Stops or plosives are consonant sounds that are formed by completely stopping the airflow. No, so stop sounds can be voiceless, like the sounds. So our voice like b, no, b, b. So in phonetics, a plosive consonant is made by blocking a part of the mouth so that no air can pass through it. So we have on the next after stop we have fricatives. What are fricatives in the manner of articulation of consonant sounds? Fricative, sometimes called spirant, where there is continuous friction or frication and or turbulent and noisy airflow at the place of the articulation. Examples include um, the following: the voiceless. So at the place of articulation, the examples in English of which are voiceless, no, um, most languages have fricatives, though many have only one, no, as or only as an no. So what about the affricates, the affricative? What is an affricative? An affricative is a composite speech sound consisting of a stop and a fricative articulated at the same point, such as in share, no, and in joy, you know. What about a lateral approximant? So, in traditional articulatory terms, a lateral approximant and or less commonly known as the lateral resonant is a consonant whose articulation involves a central occlusion with an opening on one or both sides of the tongue that is not close enough to produce no such as the one I have mentioned a while ago. What about the manner of articulation of the retroflex approximant? Features of the voice, no? Retroflex approximant, its manner of articulation is approximant, which means no, it is produced by narrowing the vocal tract at the place of articulation, but not enough to produce the turbulent airstream. Then we have the glides. No? Glides are also known as semivowels. These sounds must be preceded or followed by a vowel. So in English, no, the two glides are the o, no, o, as in yet, and as in wet. So even though they are like or they are vowel-like in their articulation, the sounds are consonants since they cannot function as the nucleus of a syllable. Now, let's go to the place of articulation of a consonant sound. So, in articulatory phonetics, no? In articulatory phonetics, the place of articulation, also point of articulation of a consonant, is an approximate location along the vocal tract where its production occurs. It is a point, no, where a constriction is made between an active and a passive articulator. So let's move into the next slides. Okay, so we have here the uh, examples of the production of consonant sounds like pen, to, key, lift, watch, bin, door, girl, rat, ear, man, note, ring, hat, button, fish, think, sun, shoe, share, vest, there, zip, television, jam. So these are the examples of reproduction of a consonant or of consonant sounds. Now, we have the bilabial sounds involving both lips, no? Like boy, people, man, wet. So in other words, when we come to bilabials or bilabial consonants, they are a type of sound that are made with both lips, no? Bilabial, and by partially stopping the air coming from the mouth. When the sound is pronounced, these are referring to the consonant sounds. For example, no? And the but is not, no? So we will go to the labiodentals. Um, for the labiodentals on screen, labiodental refers to consonant sounds produced when the stop when the top teeth make contact with the bottom lip. And there are five possible examples of labiodentals, no? So these are the mm, no, and mm. So these labiodentals are exactly consonant sounds produced when the top teeth make contact with the bottom lip, as in velvet, fence. So speech sounds formed between the lower lip and the upper central incisors are as in the fricatives, no? But rarely with the upper lip touching the lower front teeth. The former is voiceless. Labiodental fricatives, example fan. The latter voice, a voice labiodental fricatives van. No? These are examples. So, what is the meaning of a labiodental fricatives? Its manner of articulation is fricative, which means it is produced by constricting airflow through a narrow channel at the place of articulation, causing turbulence. Its place of articulation is labiodental, which means it is articulated with the lower lip and the upper teeth. Now, let us proceed to the dentals and interdentals. On screen, we have dentals and our interdentals. So, dental sounds are speech sounds produced by the tongue against the upper front teeth, crucial for clear speech, including sounds like no, thin, no, as in this, no. So, teeth, bath, this, loath, bath, made by placing the tongue against or between the teeth. So, interdental sounds, interdental consonants are produced by placing the tip of the tongue between the upper and the lower teeth. And that differs from the typical dental consonants, which are articulated with the tongue against the back of the upper incisors. So no language is known to contrast interdental and dental consonants according to research. So what are the interdental sounds and examples? An interdental sound is produced by putting the tip of the tongue between the upper and the lower teeth. The sounds in English are interdental sounds, no? Voiceless, thin, no? Uh, voice, then, no? So in other words, interdentals are thus, number one, situated or intended for use between the teeth. Number two, formed with the tip of the tongue between the upper and the lower teeth. Now, let us go to the alveolars. This may be made by using the tongue and the alveolar ridge. No? So, alveolar consonants are consonant sounds that are produced with the tongue close to or touching the ridge behind the teeth on the roof of the mouth. So, on the roof of the mouth. So, the name comes from alveoli, the sockets of the teeth, the consonants or the consonant sounds mm, are all alveolar consonants. Now, how do we distinguish dental from an alveolar sound? A dental sound is produced by placing the blade of the tongue on the backside of the upper teeth, while an alveolar sound, no, is produced by placing the tip, no, on or just in front of the alveolar ridge. So the bump behind the upper teeth. Now let's go to the palatals. Palatals. Made when the center of the tongue approaches the palate. Voices nouns ship, chocolate or ship, and shoe. Voice sounds, no, judge, George. So the sound pronounced you or yet is called a palatal line. So what are palatals? um, Palatal or palatal in phonetics pertains to a consonant sound produced by raising the blade or front of the tongue toward or against the hard palate just behind the alveolar ridge, the gums, no, the gums, no. Okay, the German sound in sh, no, when pronounced, no, and the French gn, no, n, in agnew, and the palatal consonants are examples of these palatal sounds. So let us proceed to the velars. They are made when the back of the tongue touches the velum. No, when the back of the tongue touches the velum. Uh, uh, Sound as in kid, as in go, and it, as in rolling, no, rolling, sung, no. So um, the velar consonants or a velar consonant is a sound that involves a constriction between the body of the tongue and the velum. So the velar consonants in English are no, no, the sound at the end of at the end of the word sing, no, is an example. So in a nasal stop, though the velum lowers to air, no, to pass through the nose, no, is an example then of a velar consonant, a consonant sound. So the velars are consequently number one, formed with the back of the tongue touching or near the soft palate. No? Number two, form or related to a velum, and especially the soft palate. No? The soft palate. So how are velar sounds made? A velar consonant is a consonant that is produced with the back part of the tongue against the soft palate, also known as the velum. So which is the back part of the roof of the mouth, no? Back part of the roof of the mouth, velar consonants in English like K, na, you know, and now these are the velar consonants in the IPA phonetics if we're going to refer to the phonetics. So we will go to the classification of consonants. Now, we classify consonants along three major dimensions: the manner of articulation, the voicing, and the place of articulation. Now, consonants are usually classified according to place of articulation, the location of the stricture, no, made in the vocal tract, such as dental, bilabial, or velar, the manner of articulation, how the obstruction of the airflow is accomplished, as in stops, fricatives, and approximants, trill stops, and laterals. Again, we have learned the manner of articulation, and there are five, no, uh, manners of articulation used for consonant sounds in the English language, which I have already mentioned: plosives, fricatives, diaphragmates, nasals, and lateral approximants. What about voicing? Now, what is voicing in the classification of consonants? Phoneticists who study the sound of the human voice divide consonants into two types: the voiced and the voiceless. Voiced consonants require, no, the use of the vocal cords to produce their signature sounds. Voiceless consonants do not. Both types no, use the breath, the lips, the teeth, and the upper palate to further modify speech. Okay, so let us proceed to the next. On screen, we have the place, manner, and voicing chart for English consonants, and some of the terminologies had earlier been verbosely discussed. Hence, a point of distinction is focused on voiced and voiceless consonants as provided on screen. Now, we have here the voiced and voiceless. Some sounds are voiced, which means that the vocal cords are vibrated when the sound is created. Voiceless sounds are produced without any vibration of the vocal cords. Pronounced bowl and pull and dad, tad, gate, and kate. What's the difference? Simply voicing whether or not the vocal cords vibrate when the consonant is produced. So, voice consonants require the use of the vocal cords to produce the signature sounds. The voiceless consonants do not. Both types use no, the breath, the lips, the teeth, and the upper palate to further modify speech. And this guide no, presents the differences between voiced and voiceless consonants and gives you some tips for using them. Now, on screen, we have this voiced and voiceless sounds. Now, how to identify voiced and voiceless sounds? Some consonant sounds are voiced and some are voiceless. A voiceless sound is one that just uses air to make the sound and not the voice. And you can tell no, if a sound is voiced or not by putting your hand gently on your throat. When you say a sound, if you can feel a vibration, then it is a voiced sound. No? Okay, so we have here the voiced and voiceless sounds. So say the pairs of words again slowly. This time, touch your throat as you say them and notice when it vibrates. You feel vibration on all the vowels and on the voice consonants. No? B, T, K. The voice consonants. Other voice consonants, the v, then z, measure, no? Uh, these are exactly voice consonants. So, places of articulation means um, when we produce sound, sometimes our tongue touches our lips. Sometimes only our lips come together and make a sound. Sometimes our tongue touches our soft palate and back part, the alveolar tongue. So this touching of places, our vocal tract of speech organ, is then called the place of articulation. Again, in articulatory phonetics, the place of articulation, also the point of articulation of the consonant, is an approximate location along the vocal tract where its production occurs. It is a point where a constriction is made between an active and a passive articulator. Then we shall go to the fricatives. The places of articulation, as had already been mentioned, these sounds in which the airstream is stopped completely in the mouth cavity for a brief period. Note that in and the nasal stops, air is stopped in the mouth, even though it flows through the nose. So we're talking on fricatives. No, is a consonant speech sound produced by forcing air through a narrow channel, creating a friction. And we have some examples no, in the English sounds, no, as in the words that we have already had been mentioning, um, uh, fish, no, vase, no, sand, and zebra. So uh, we are dealing with those fricatives, no, fricatives, no, sounding in which the airstream is not totally stopped but is obstructed to a narrow area, causing friction. So pronounced as in and notice the friction in the sound. So that is exactly fricatives. And for the affricates, this combine a stop and a fricative, and you get an affricate. Basically, to make one of these, you pronounce the stop, then the fricative. So uh, the examples on screen, we have the voice and the unvoiced. Now, the joy and the sound cheese, no? So these are examples. So an affricate pertains to a consonant sound that begins a stop, no? Sound with complete obstruction of the breath stream, and concludes with a fricative sound with incomplete closure and a sound friction. So when stop consonants mix with fricative consonants, the result is an affricate consonant. And affricate consonants start at stop sounds with air building up behind an articulator, which then releases through a narrow channel as a fricative instead of a clean burst as stops do. Then we shall go to the nasal and oral sounds. These sounds are exactly pronounced to the nose, no? Are nasal, Those pronounced to the mouth are oral and other consonants. So the velum is lowered, allowing air to enter the nasal cavity. But what's the difference between the nasal and the oral sounds? So the consonants are produced when the air is sent through the mouth, the oral cavity, and are called oral sounds, and sounds produced when the air is sent through the nose, the nasal cavity, are called then as the nasal sounds. Now, what is the oral cavity in phonology? The oral cavity is also the final resonating chamber in the human body. Resonance refers to the intensity and tone of produced sound. So when vocal cords in the pharynx vibrate, now sound waves travel through resonating areas like the larynx, the pharynx, and the nasal cavity, including the oral cavity. Now let us go to the liquids. The O and R sounds are these sounds where the airstream is obstructed, but not so much as to either stop it or create friction. So pronounce all are very slowly, and here the difference between the vowel and the liquid sounds, liquid consonants. So the sound, no, the tip of the tongue is a little curled back when it is raised upward, to compare with the O, no, and earth leaves more space between the tip of the tongue and the post-alveolar ridge. So liquids can be produced or perceived differently depending on the different individuals, like water, no, water, right? So on screen again we have liquids. So what are liquids again in phonology? Liquids or liquid in phonetics pertains to a consonant sound in which the tongue produces a partial closure of the mouth, resulting in a resonant vowel-like consonant such as the one we can see on screen, the O and the R sound. Again, in linguistics, a liquid consonant or simply liquid is any of a class of consonants that consists of rhotics and voiced lateral approximants, which are sometimes described as the like sounds and the O sound-like sounds. So let us proceed to glides. So glides, no, sounds with little or no obstruction to the air stream in the mouth. Glides and liquids are closest things to vowels among the consonants. In fact, in some languages, they function almost as vowels. So on screen, no, we have glides. Again, glides are those sounds that have vowel-like qualities, and they combine with vowels and are almost followed by a vowel. So they literally glide, no, into a vowel or into the vowel sound. So when working on the individual phonemes, we want to try to keep the vowel sound from the end of the sound production. So our glides, as you can see on screen, no, are our referrals then. So what does glide mean in speech? Well, gliding is a common phonological process in which a child, for example, might replace an or an o, no? So this can be interchanged for our real ones. So what about glides and liquids? Glides, again, we know that they are called semivowels. And a semivowel is a consonant that is made by putting the vocal apparel in the form that it has when you pronounce the corresponding vowel, but not long enough in order to produce a vowel. Liquids don't have such associated vowels. Okay, so we have examples: the stops, the affricates, the nasals, fricatives, the glides, liquids, no, and others. So these are our examples. So if you have time, you can read that for personal consumption. Pig, bat, tiger, dog, kite, goat, chick, hatch, jar, mouse, no, newt, a ring, snake, zebra, moose, feather, sheep, treasure, fan, van, horse, yak, walrus, whale, rabbit, lion, fox, queen. So we have this example. So thank you for watching this simple presentation, and I hope you have gone Dutch on the lessons intended for this session. My sincerest thanks and gratitude for sparing your precious time. God bless us all. See you in my next vlog for more of your favorite content on English phonology shall be uploaded for educational enrichment. Bye for now, and again, God bless us all.